All right. So hopefully by the time you guys see this video or even now, you should have all the feedback on your midterm projects. So for the final projects, I gave you guys a bunch of information on your midterms, unless you did fine, in which case you're going to see a couple extra comments and that's about it. The goal is that you would take your midterm project and you will transition it to a final project. So in the midterm, you guys were using scripting type language. In the final, you should be using object-oriented type language, all right? So that means you'll be taking some aspect of your project as you've written it on your midterm, and you're going to be making that object-oriented. If you look at the point breakdown, it's very similar to the midterm. So 20 points to make sure the program executes with no errors. If you guys didn't notice it on the midterm, I beat it up, and if I could break it, then you lost points, right? Same thing on the final project. The next 20 points is going to be good use of flow control, functions, etc. Many of you had functions. Many of you didn't understand that functions should do more than just print something. They should actually calculate something, do something within your project. So make sure you're doing that. You should still also have an example of a list or dictionary. The project itself should be well documented. As you saw in there, you should have initial comments at the top. You should have a block comment directly below that that explains what your project is. Just giving me the name of your project doesn't explain what your project is, all right? And then you should have comments throughout your entire project, okay? The next 20 points is going to be over the logging module. This is as simple as going back, watching the logging or the debug video, and doing exactly what that video says. Okay? I promise you, if you go back and watch the video, it will do exactly what that video says. Okay? The key there is that the best way for you to get the points here is you have to copy and paste the logging statement in the setup portion into your project, right? Remember that you have to format it correctly, and the video shows you how to do that. Make sure that you are copy and pasting the one that logs it to a file, not to the screen. So you should be logging to a file. You should also make sure that you're using a logging.debug and a logging.critical. Those are the two extremes of the spectrum, right? Logging.debug is basically give me all the data you can possibly give me. Logging.critical should be things that only crash the program immediately. Okay, which in theory, you should not have a whole lot of that in your project, right? However, if you guys are moving things off to more than one file, etc., you have that chance for the program to crash. Therefore, at the top of your project, if anytime you import from a third-party module, aka one you pip install, or a second file where you're doing from something import star, etc., those should be wrapped in a try and accept statement with your logging.debugs and your logging.criticals appropriately. All right. Everybody remember how that all works? Okay. Outside of that, you'll want to make sure that you have logging.debug throughout your project. You could also have the other levels in there as well. All right. But you must have debug and critical. Those are the two required ones. And then the last 20 points is making sure that you use object-oriented programming. In this case, you could use third-party modules. If that made sense, I told you that on your midterm project. Be sure to put the comments on the packages that need to be pip installed. So if it's a pip install something, then make sure that you have the try and accept language that tells me I need to install that package. Outside of that, more than likely, most of you are creating your own classes. This could be a player class, a character class. It could be depending upon your project. For almost all of you should have that feedback on your midterm project. Use this for OOP, all right? The only time I didn't give you that is if your project was so far off that there was no way to clearly say what we would be doing, in which case you'll have to kind of come up with a piece for that to work. All right, total's 100 points. Remember, if you fix things that were broken on the midterm, right? You got a 75 on the midterm. You fix the 25 points that were broken. You will get those half of those points back. So you would get 13, therefore giving you an 88. Okay. So one, you need to fix it anyway because it can't be broken on this project. And two, you'll get points back for the midterm side of things. All right. All of your other stuff should be graded in this class: assignment 3s, 4s, 1, 2s, quizzes, midterm exam, etc. So you know exactly where you stand in this class. The final project is worth a good chunk of your grade as well, and you can see that in the syllabus. Okay. The last piece of this, in years past, we used to schedule a one-on-one meeting for this particular thing. Because we now have at least 4 different instructors teaching this class, we're trying to keep it consistent, in which case it is now due on December 10th. Okay, so all final projects will be due on December 10th with no exceptions, and that's because it's during finals week. Obviously, as you guys know how long it took to grade the midterms, I got to be able to grade these back out so that you have grades before you end the semester. All right. Anybody have any questions on that part? So no one-on-one meetings. You submit your project and I'll get it graded from there. Due on December 10th. I updated that schedule here on the final project submission. Remember that for your final project, you should more than likely have more than one file. Therefore, you will zip those files together and submit just the zip file. Don't submit me 4 files in there. Submit a zip file with all of it included. And for goodness sakes, please make sure your file names are correct and that you put your name on the top of the assignments. All right. It's a really Debbie Downer if I got to keep taking points off for that, like put your name on the paper or assignment. And it becomes extremely important in the final project when you have a zip file. If everybody calls it final project, it becomes a really big issue. All right. There again, if you guys need the information on how to name your files correctly, go back to learning modules, come down here to assignments. It should be in exactly this format: first name, last name, assignment 1. Or in this case, it should say final project. Make sense? If you have a project called Star-Crossed Lovers, I don't want Star-Crossed Lovers.zip. I need to have it as first name, last name, final project. Okay. I know it sounds complicated, but it caused a lot of problems with a lot of midterms where people were overlapping one another. Okay. Anybody have any questions on how the rest of the semester goes? We will not physically meet in this classroom again. If you guys need assistance on your projects, just email me. Let's schedule some time. So we won't meet this Thursday. Obviously, next week you have fall break. The week you come back, we will not meet Monday or Tuesday, Thursday, and then the projects are due on the 10th of December. So you should have at least 3 class periods plus an entire fall break to wrap up whatever you're doing. For most of you, this is just a matter of tweaking your project to add logging based on the video, and you can watch the video on OOP on how to add the player object if that's what I told you to do, and you can make that little tweak. Fix anything that was broken from the midterm. That is your final project. Really try hard not to create an entirely separate project, just because that will cause more headache for you. All right. Anybody else? Questions? That's it. Just the final project. And now you've got class time to work on it. So again, I can't give any extensions beyond December 10th. That's a hard deadline that I have to put in because I got to be able to get your guys' grades in before the end of the semester. And I think 3 weeks is fair enough for you to be able to get your final projects in. At this point, again, most of you, based on what I saw, it'll take you less than a week, I would hope, to just make some minor edits in your projects and kind of move on from there. Okay. If I told you guys to meet with me based on your midterm project or something was a little iffy, please schedule some time with me and we'll get that fixed. All right, I'll stop this recording. Get that one posted.